Hello, and welcome to the Youth Netball Premier League review show, where today we're going to continue the overhead pass debate, which is gonna. Well, we've got Hayley coming over from Poole and also Colyn from Shan, so that's going to be interesting. Well, hopefully, Colyn.
Two polar opposites. If Colyn does come in, but Hayley is a big advocate of the overhead pass. Because her teams have been very successful using it. She's probably predominantly one of the only clubs in the entire Midlands down who predominantly use that pass. So a great person to kind of speak to about it and why she does it. But if Colyn does come in, if we can't guarantee it, you've got two people with completely two different opinions on the pass. So it should be really cool to try and get an understanding of why and why not. I still don't get what the problem is, regardless of what pass you do, just as long as it gets there.
Exactly. Let's just win. That's the whole idea. I was going to look at Leeds and Oldham, the showdown in the under-13s North. We look at the finalist fixtures of the under-12s and under-13s North. Well, it's just the under-13s, isn't it? Or we're going to look at both?
Just the 12s. The 13s, unfortunately, was wiped out by a 16-month-old little boy who felt it was funny just to terrorise me all day. So, yeah.
Step away from the laptop, son. That's very important. You step away.
Well, we had a trick. The trick was I'm going to walk into the sitting room with a Weetabix I'd got out the cupboard. I then took the Weetabix off him, ran into the kitchen, put it back into the box, and then would come back with him slapping my laptop and then looking at me and smiling as he's doing it. So,
mate, he had it all planned. If I take the Weetabix, that'll keep my dad entertained. While he's taking that back, laptop is mine.
Like he kept going up. So I've got my sofa is kind of backs up against my window, and my wife's put up these little snow stickers, like decoration for Christmas. He picks them off, and I say, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Rabbit." Like he's clever enough to just point at a rabbit and say, "I'm looking at rabbits, Dad. I'm not picking this off. What about?" Oh, start a mine. I can't work it. How can I run a business with that silliness going on,
mate? Because it fuels you, mate. It does fuel you.
Don't know about that. But before we crack on with the review show, we've got a very important draw to do. We've got the ENG Under-16s Netball Cup national final draw. Road to Belfast. This is our kind of thank you tournament, I would say, to Under-16s teams who have embraced grassroots netball, whether it's been with ENG or whether it's been within, their local leagues and England netball tournaments. We're just basically saying to under-16s teams, here's a competition. There's a great prize at the end of it. We kind of want to make your kind of last season as a grassroots netballer as memorable as possible. So this is why we're doing it. And not only that, obviously we're a business, we want to make money, but unfortunately the 16s, when the older the teams get and the older the kids get, the harder it gets to turn over huge amounts of money in these type of events. But predominantly it is a thank you competition to all the teams who have embraced grassroots sport, and then one of them will have a memorable trip which they can speak about and remember for the rest of their lives. Martin, get the tissues out.
I'm gonna cry. So long. Farewell. It's a bit like that, though, isn't it? I've got to admit, it's a bit emotional because when you see them play the Under-16 Netball Cup and it's done and dusted, then it is like, that's it.
Now we've got the Under-17s Fast 5 event, which is a big success. Maybe it's not by they can do one in September, but we're going to do the draw for that. I'm going to give you I'm going to let you know pot 1, pot 2 and pot 3 why those teams are particularly in there. But basically we've done 4 regional heats. The top teams from their regional heats have now qualified for the national final. The national final is exactly the same as the regional heats, 10-minute games, 12-minute games, depending on where you come, depends on who you play. We're going to whittle the teams down from 1st to 10th and get an official standing, and that's it. And just sit back and enjoy some top class youth netballers have a tear up. Really, that's what I'm looking forward to, and hopefully spectators, you come out, you support, because it's a good, entertaining day of netball. Trust me, you will not be disappointed coming along to support the girls. They're never too old to support. And plus, this is where you see the best netball, the best quality netball as well. And the fact that it's condensed down into 10-minute games makes it even better.
Yeah, definitely. You can just feel the passion there straight away. Even, you know, in the East and, you know, South, North, you can just feel the pressure, you know, trying to make it through to get through to the grand final, so to speak. So it's like, come on, people. If you can't be there, obviously watch on FBLstreamslive.com.
Yeah.
But this is it. This is, to me, it's like the pinnacle, the under-16s. It's like, come on, and it's all to play for. So
yeah, well, let's go through the prize. So if they win, you have conquered the road to Belfast. You would then travel to Belfast to play an exhibition game in our ENG Super Cup, which is the kind of pinnacle of what you can win within ENG. You get hotel flights included with that. Obviously, you get to play an exhibition game against an elite team. But great opportunity, really good opportunity. And I you know, you do have your favourites. You do have teams who you believe will win. But I am not having that. Not one. You know, for example, you've got Poole Netball Club there in pot one, a very successful team, very famous team within ENG. Instantly, you're going to think, oh God, you know, we're not going to beat Poole. I'm telling you now, in a 10-12 minute battle, if you put it all on the line and collectively teams put their best performance together in that 10-12 minute period, anything can happen. And I do not believe for a second it can't. So it's going to be, it's a great competition. So pot one, we have Poole Netball Club, Nottingham and Magic. Poole won our Southern finals. Nottingham City won our Midlands finals, and Magic won our Eastern finals. Pot two, Little Sutton, they come runners up in the Midlands. Teambridge number 2, they came runners up in the South, and MK Dons came third in the East. Then pot 3, we had Little Sutton under 14s. They pulled off again. Little Sutton under 14s are a great example of putting together an immense performance. Remember against Lincoln?
Yeah, mate. It's like the under 14 because they obviously had to play Little Sutton in the semi-finals, wasn't it? Yeah. And it was just like, and they were winning at one point.
They were winning. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It was a bit like, whoa, this is going to cause some.
It reminds me that there's 2 examples of that. It reminds me of when Kingsway Power played their 16s, played their 15s in our last season's under 16s Netball Cup, and the 15s were winning. Well, literally, it was like, get the horn out, the cavalry coming, and the panic stations that like kind of took place was incredible. And then in our under 11s, I can't remember. I'm just trying to. I think it was last season or the season before. But our under 11s event, there was a Kingsway Power under 11s against a Kingsway Power under 10s, and the under 10s were winning like with 2 minutes to go. And I had a joke with the coach to say, you were like 2 minutes away from being sacked. Like,
it's true, isn't it? I don't care that they won. You're sacked.
Yeah. So again, we've seen great examples of upsets in this, and if you are going to get an upset, this is where the upset's going to take place. So Little Sutton came third in the Midlands, AP Saints come third in the East, Sutton Town come third in the South, and Aces come fourth in the South because we had a bigger group of teams for this one in particular. People messaging me today saying, why are there no Northern teams? Where are they gone? Unfortunately, no Northern team can make the 10th of December, which is unfortunate. We had Bury, we had Grangetown, and we had Leeds Athletic, 3 big clubs, but for whatever reason, they can't make it. But to be honest,
all 3 teams of the North.
They all should be everyone should be having a mini party over that. Three teams capable of winning the competition have decided not to come. So, enjoy, because you got a bigger chance of winning. Happy days. But we're going to go through 1, 2, 3. We're going to have 2 groups of 5. We're going to pull them out one by one. As you probably realise, 2 champions will be in the same group, and 2 runners-up will be in the same group. So it does level itself out after a while. But good luck to all the teams. I'll put the groups up online after our review show. But yeah, let's get on with it, Martin. I've got a little pot today because we've only got 4 balls.
Hey, mate, you're not allowed any drugs. Oh, sorry. Right, yeah, I got you. Sorry.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Go on.
Okay. Number 2.
Number 2, Nottingham City.
So Nottingham City in Group A. In Group B will be number 1.
Number 1, Poole.
Cool. And obviously, we've only got one left here, which will be Magic. So Magic will be with Nottingham City.
Are you happy with that, Magic? Let us know in the comments.
They're at training as we speak, and I think they're watching this while having a drinks break, Martin. So they're probably, you know, throwing their water around everywhere. Happy days.
Happy days. Well, we'll play Poole in the final. That's when we really want to play them. Yeah.
Okay, so going on to pot 2, these are our runners up. Just let you know, teams in these competition, we have Midlands-based teams, we have teams down the South Coast, Dorset, Milton Keynes, North London. So still a good mix of teams from across the country. South London as well. So here we go.
Well, let's see your comments as well. Come on, what group do you want to be in? Let us know what team you're in as well.
Okay, with Poole Netball Club, we have Little Sutton.
Little
number
Sutton.
1.
There you go. You're in the group.
With Magic and Nottingham, we have number 3. MK Dons. And with Poole, we have T-Bridge.
TTNC. We see you in the B team. Yeah, Group B. Well, there we go. I think that's looking quite good already, mate. To be fair.
Well, look, it doesn't matter. Well, if you come in the top, I think it's top 2. Yeah, I think it's the top 2. All teams will have a chance to get into the kind of the elite section of the competition because depending on where you come, depends on who you play. But if you get in the top 2 positions, you fly straight into the quarterfinals without any hassle. But 3rd, 4th, and 5th, you will play in a qualifying kind of game to determine what path you go on. So it doesn't matter, you know, coming higher is obviously going to help you, but at the same time, it's not disastrous in this competition. So next up, Group A. We have number 4.
Number 4.
Aces Netball Club.
Are you happy with that, Aces? Are you happy?
In Group B, number 2. This looks like the group of death. AP Saints.
AP Saints. There we go. All right.
Well, let me just tell you, if Little Sutton going to A and Sutton Town going to B, you officially have the group of death in B.
Right, okay. Well, I want Little Sutton to be in A because if they can make it all the way through and play Little Sutton.
Let's have a look. Let's see if Little Sutton can avoid their 18. Here we go. And in Group A is Little Sutton. There you go.
Oh, my prayers have been answered. There we go.
And in Group B, ridiculously competitive.
Yeah.
We have Sutton Town.
Wow. Right.
There you go.
Looking at that, mate. Yeah, Group B. Ouch. Just ouch.
Again, it's Nottingham City, so they're the champions of the Midlands. They're in Group A. Magic are the champions of the East. They're in Group A. MK Dons runners-up in the East. Aces 4th in the South, and Little Sutton 3rd in the Midlands. So we have a good mix of regions there. Group B, Poole, the champions of the South. Little Sutton runners-up in the Midlands. Team Bridge runners-up in the South. AP Saints 3rd in the East, and Sutton Town 3rd in the South. So December the 10th, everyone. We have a Let's see how if we can get a good support down there. Let's let's enjoy a good competition. You can go online now on engsportsuk.co.uk to book tickets. Just go to the services page and you can scroll down to tickets where you see Colyn cheering. That picture of Colyn, that's where the tickets are. And come along, enjoy. If you can't be there, you know where to go after that. Straight to FBL streamslive.com where you can watch all the drama unfold. But it should be a good one, Martin. We look forward to these ones, don't we?
Oh, we do, mate. We do. This is where again, passion in the in the regionals, but when it gets to the finals, mate, when it's the grand finals, it's like you can see as when they start approaching the venue. You know what I mean? You can see the tension and how they're all ready and fired up, and it's like, come on! You see, you like go out and get something from the van or whatever, and you see the teams, they're all together and they're talking, the coaches as well. It's like, yeah, look at this. This is the passion. I love it. I love it. I like walking through it all and seeing how they all are. And you get questions. I think like, where, do you know where we can warm up? And I'm like, well, you'll be given a designated time. Speak to Richard. And they're like, yeah, but can I go over? I was like, I don't know. I just do the live streaming. It's funny how many people ask me, mate. After all these years, I still get people coming up to me asking me stuff, and I'm like, maybe you look like you know what you're doing, mate. Everybody knows what I'm doing. That's correct.
It should be a good. We've got actually Hayley coming into the room soon, so maybe we'll ask her what she thinks of that group. So there you go.
That's a good one.
But
like that.
If you're staying with us, we're going to start talking about the Youth Netball Premier League, the Under 12s Northern Conference, which took place this Saturday. Probably one of the more uneventful days at the ENG office. No, it was about half and half. It was a bit of a mix in terms of score lines and stuff, but we're well set up for the round 3, 4, and 5. It should be a really good round. I can't actually see the league tables or anything, Martin, because it's been wiped from the under 13s.
Do you know what? I just want to say to you, I'm scrolling through it going, there is nothing, is there?
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Facebook page and I'm going to get the league tables up there. Because luckily I do put them up.
Oh, mate, that's brilliant. Your son's amazing. All that hard work.
Yeah. I just hate typing. I hate sitting down doing typing and stuff. It really drives me nuts. But I do have the league table here. So you can't visually see it. I don't know. You can't share my screen, can you, Martin?
Yeah, you're on a laptop.
Yeah.
Believe you can. Is there a thing that says share screen? Don't worry about it, mate. Don't worry. Just
just go for it.
Facebook. I don't know if I can sign into Facebook here.
Yeah, if you go on ENG Sports Facebook, if you scroll down through the numerous posts, you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, I can't go into Facebook on here.
Well, let's go through the scores quickly because I put that up now as well for these particular reasons. So Chester 18-19. So tell a lie, it's very event. The first game was very eventful. 18-19. Chorley, fair play to them. They looked beat for a large part of the game, but 3-4 minutes to go, they got going and they got the wins. And to be honest, that a massive win. There's a couple of wins this week which were pivotal in some team's season, and then that was definitely one of them. So well done to Chorley. Bury, this was a good game as well. Bury, I've always liked Bury, but Manchester Wildcats are a great addition to the league. Yeah. Very enthusiastic, great support network. Again, when you have a new team and they're just so energized, they're just so happy to be there, and they're trying to embrace the opportunity. They're definitely one of them teams. Very neck and neck. Bury got the win again. Fourth quarter, it was the telling quarter. I think we had 2 quarters where they went in a draw. I think it might have been the second and third quarter. But Bury got the win. They squeezed through and they got the win. Then Leeds played Chester. It didn't help. Chester had a few players at a county tournament. We've talked about that before. And Leeds Athletic had a full strength team, and playing Leeds Athletic with a full strength team is hard enough. Getting rid of 3 or 4 players is always going to be a tough ask. But I always say this, but they kept going. That's the main thing. They kept playing netball. So 53-6 to Leeds Athletic. Chorley Inferno, then Manchester Wild. Chorley again were another team that were affected by missing players, which is probably the only dampener on the day, was the fact that a lot of the teams, I would say over half of them, had players missing because of a county tournament. Well done to the county for taking something away from the girls as well. Congratulations to you. So Chorley against Manchester Wildcats, again, on another day with a full strength team. It could have been different for Chorley, but Manchester Wildcats got their first win, 25-14. So well done to them. And they're 1 point from the top 4, which is, when I go through the league table, you'll see how stupidly close it is. Then Bury played Leeds. Again, Bury did have a big squad with them, but again, a couple of players missing. But I think this game really showed us how good Leeds are. They're a force to be reckoned with.
Be really close, mate. I really did. So it was.
And they were so good, like such a great team to watch. And the best part of it, I keep repeating myself, is seeing them do the under-11s Netball Cup competition, kind of struggle and limp their way through the regional heats. Then they limped through the group stages of the nationals, but ended up in the final because they managed to navigate some really tough teams, and they got to the final and lost to Kingsway Power. But from then on, we've seen them develop. We've seen them get better and better and better. And you're kind of seeing a team in full flow at the moment, and probably my favourites to win the entire under-13s Youth Netball Premier League. So time will tell, as Bob Marley said, but great performance there from Leeds Athletic. Then Oldham played Grangetown. I think Grangetown would be disappointed in how they started that game. Really poor start. You can't give Oldham 8, 9, 10 points. It's just ridiculous. So how do you approach that first quarter against Oldham, Leeds in particular? How do you just frustrate them? How do you slow them down? Because there was no resistance whatsoever. But they did pick it up. They did pick it up, and it wasn't as bad as we first thought. The scoreline, it's 40-17 in the end. But based on the first quarter and a half, 2 quarters, well, I thought it'd be like a rugby score. So similar to a rugby score anyway. You know what I mean? But they did pick it up. And they did make up for it in their second game, which we'll talk about. Northwich Sapphires against Tameside. Expected more from Tameside. That they had a full strength team here, and they performed superbly well in the first round, but just couldn't find a lot of momentum in the game against Northwich, who did play outstanding. They were really good. 19-13 Northwich won. Then Grangetown bounced back from their defeat to Oldham with a fantastic 27-26 win against Ellesmere Port.
That was a good game.
And, just made me think, if you just played like that, the way they played, they kind of slowed down towards the back end of the Ellesmere Port game, but the way they started was incredible. So I would love to have seen them in playing like that against Oldham. But they got a very narrow win, superb win, and they're one of the teams I think, like, before that game, if you had said to me, "Are Grangetown going to reach top 4?" I'd probably said, "Nah. I don't. I think they'd be close, but they probably won't." Now, after that win, they're definitely in pole position out of those kind of teams who are vying to get into the top 4. So Grangetown, superb. Well done. You went against the odds. You went against what I thought would happen. So well done to you. But that also means Ellesmere Port, who are one of the teams we thought would definitely be in the top 4 this season, in that age group. They're struggling big time, but the best news for them is we go on to it. They did win their second game. They've lost 3, 1-1, but they're only 2 points away from the top 4. So they're still.
That's not much, is it? Really, to be fair, yeah. So that's.
But they do have a lot of tough games coming up. So they've still got to play Oldham. They've still got to play Leeds. They've still got to play Bury. So they got 5 games left, and they got Bury, Oldham, and Leeds in there. It's not good, is it?
I love Ellesmere Port. You know I do. You know, mate. That's like you know when you get that brown envelope through the door and it either says DVLA or government.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to write. No, that's.
I hate the brown one.
It's like, I'll just leave that on the side.
Well, I was doing their fixtures day, and I was thinking, okay, it's not that bad. They're only 2 points away, and I was looking at the fixtures, thinking, but I don't know if you remember rightly. Last season, at the start of the under-12s league, Ellesmere Port beat Oldham.
Yes.
So, you know, they're going to have to pull out something similar to that. I think we've never had a team qualify for the top 4 with less than 10 points.
Right.
I think this season, 100%, this league, I can guarantee you a team will qualify with 8 points, and your literally goal difference is going to play a massive factor in who qualifies.
Oh, everything to watch. I like it.
Seriously, I think this season in this particular league, when you look at the fixtures and you look at that team could beat that team, that team could beat that team. It's ridiculous the variations in what can happen. Apart from the top 2, I think this season in particular, you're going to see a team qualify top 4 with 8 points. So 4 wins, I think, will be enough. But your extra point will be a good goal difference.
Yeah. Well, I said this, wasn't it, last week? Goal difference. Do not think for 1 second goal difference is not going to come down to it in any of these leagues this year, because goal difference can mean everything.
Yeah,
and
100%.
You know, if you're beating a team 30-0, go for the 60. You know what I mean? And if you're the team getting beaten 30-0, try and get some points. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you've got half a squad. Just every goal you get changes that goal difference. So just keep chasing that. Could be the decider. So there we go.
100%. Oldham Tameside, again, they're similar to Grangetown in the sense of they played superbly against a very good Oldham team. For the first half in particular, they were more than in the game. But then the frustrating thing is, why couldn't they do that against Northwich Defiers? But horses for courses and all that. Some teams play different, which disrupts you. Maybe Oldham playing away, which is more because Oldham are quite an expansive team. Maybe Oldham leave more gaps in behind their structure. I don't know, but good performance from Tameside. And I think if they can replicate that performance in the next 5 games, they're going to be another team that are going to be there or thereabouts when it comes to the top 4. So again, apart from the top 2, I think the other 8 teams, it's anyone's game. Then the final game of the day, Northwich Sapphires against Ellesmere Port. I thought this is over now for Ellesmere Port. I thought, lose this game, your season in terms of getting to the top 4 is completely over. It would have been over. Like, you're not going to qualify for the top 4 of 6 points or 4 points or whatever. And against Northwich Sapphires, who were superb in their first game, they won 26-21. So they kept it alive. They're on their last life, but they've definitely kept their season alive with that win, 26-21. And again, why couldn't they do that against Grangetown? Again, it's easy for us to sit back.
Sometimes these scores don't reflect how the game actually was and how nail-biting it was, wasn't it? And that was one of them. But you see 26-21, for instance, and it's like, yeah, maybe 5 goals in it. Oh, you know, it was like an easy win. Nah, it wasn't. It was a battle all the way. It was.
Yeah, well, netball's a funny sport because teams can be neck and neck. In the last 3 minutes, a team can bang in 4, 5, 6 goals, and it looks like it's a one-sided game. But you're like, no, it's not.
It wasn't.
Promise you, it's a good game.
Jack said to me, that's good, because when that happened, he was like, that does not reflect what the game, you know, what we've just been live streaming. You know what I mean? He felt gutted. It was like, it's like you're being cheated. It's like, It was close. It was nail biting all the way through. Horses for courses all the way, and then that happened at the end. And you're like, wow. But that's sport, isn't it? I suppose. But
It is indeed.
Watching it live is also good because you get involved in that. Whether you're sat there in the seat, by the court side or watching it live on FBL streams live, it's that you don't know what's going to happen, and like anything can turn around. And that's what I love about sport as well. It's just.
Or at least if someone can't make it and they're watching at home and the child comes home and says, "Mum or Dad, that was a close game," and the dad, at least the mum and dad can not turn around and say, "Oh, you're talking rubbish."
Yeah. Do you know what? I've had loads of parents come up to me and say that they love the ENG, they love what it all is, but if they can't even be there, they love it that they can just watch it live, and they do. Or they might be in a meeting or whatever they've got to do on the weekend. And it's just, it's just that whole part that your child can even text you that minute going, "Oh, we lost," and you can tell them, "I know, I was watching." It's just that. It's just good. It's just
so league take. No, it's got Matt. I would, again, if my daughters or were playing in this league and I couldn't make a game, or my wife couldn't make a game, it's so cool to know that they can sit at home and watch it and kind of live and breathe every pass, every shot. To be honest, it's probably going to be even worse at home. No. I'll tell you this now. I used to go and watch Man United play all the time as a kid, but listening to it on the radio used to drive me potty. So if we're driving back from football and we stick like it's like, say it's a European night and Man United are playing Juventus or Bayern Munich, like the race to get home was real. My dad, he's definitely one of those guys that would not care whether his kids were in the car or not. He, getting home to watch Man United and drinking a beer was far more important. Do you know what I mean? 150 miles. But I remember listening to the games on the radio and just feeling depressed listening to it because the commentators had such a good way of building stuff up. And it drove me potty. So maybe sometimes watching at home is 10 times worse because, you notice parents, they're trying to give information to their kids, which I don't probably think is the best thing to do during match play. Yeah. But you feel like you have some sort of control over what's going on. Whereas at home, you might pick something up. Do you know what I mean? Can
you not see? If I can see on the screen, why?
You could be chopping the onions, and your daughter has just missed or done a bad pass, and you just go, or another player just ran through your daughter. You potentially be chopping fingers off mine.
Did you watch the match? Well, I watched half of it until you did that stupid thing, and then I cut my finger off. Then I was in A&E, waiting 4 hours. Then finally got it.
Yeah. So maybe at home is not as comfortable as we all think. But the league table, Leeds Athletic and Oldham look like they're going to battle it out for the top spaces. I can't see them faltering up until then. But again, to the other eight teams, please prove me wrong. But they're looking good. I think Leeds Athletic visually so far are looking the stronger. But yeah, both have 8 points, and Leeds Athletic's goal difference is ridiculously larger, but I don't think it's going to go down to goal difference either. So I think that would be quite irrelevant at the end. Grangetown are third with 5 points. They got that little draw, which might make a big difference at the end of the season. So that's a little bonus point there for Grangetown. They're potentially. Well, I think Grangetown are potentially 2 wins away from qualifying for the grand final. So, and that'd be a great achievement for this team because they just survived this league last season. Just survived. That's massive, massive turnaround. Really good. Bury are 4th with 4 points. Northwich are 5th with 4 points. Chorley Inferno are 6th with 4 points. Then Manchester Wildcats are 7th with 3 points. Ellesmere Port 8th. Ellesmere Port with 2 points. Tameside have 2 points and Chester have 0. So 9th place all the way up to 4th is 2 points separating. So traveling up to Manchester in the new year is going to be a lot of excitement because we're going to be watching some really cool. And I have done the fixtures for the under-13s. They're all done. I just have to redo the whole entire under-13s page. And I will be requesting that people let me know whose children got the MVPs this weekend, because all the paperwork's been thrown out. What I need to do is start snapshotting the MVP table. I snapshot the league table, but I don't snapshot the MVP table. So that's my lesson learned, and I'll be definitely doing that from now on. But Martin, who do you think, based on? Actually, we won't. I'm going to ask you what you think of the top two. Then I'll ask you what you think of who would be in the top four. But let's have a look at the highlights from round 2 of the ENG Under-13 Youth Netball Premier League Northern Conference.
Some good highlights there, mate.
My favourite, I always like telling my favourite is the buzzer shot from Leeds Athletic. I think it's hold on. But the young lady, she shoots, and what she does really cool is she just leaves her hand like that. So hold on, I can't remember. She just leaves her hand like outstretched as if to push it while it's travelling, like she's directing it with her hand. Really, really good shot. Yeah, that was my Space Jam style stuff.
Yeah.
So that was my favourite highlight in particular. But that's why I like doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, because it does generate that. It does stimulate that response, doesn't it?
To change the, or well, you can. It's your league. You can change it if you want, you know. But it should be, as long as it's left their hand, then it can count as a goal.
I agree.
Yeah, it's change it, mate. Change it. Please.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. That's not. Let's put that out to an Instagram post. Should goals count when the time has ended? What if the player has shot and the ball has left their hand? Because at the present moment, it's the ball going through the net. It's got to clear the net. But should it just be when the ball's left their hand? And I'm going to say when it's left their hand.
Yeah. Oh, well, mate, I'm 100%. So if it's left their hand, then that's it. Because I'll never forget when the umpire went, no goal. I was like, boo. She just looked
it's terrible, isn't it? I don't think I could ever say no to a goal that's gone in at the very end. Martin, before we go on to the debate, let's go to the under 12s Northern Conference, because I have done the fixtures, and I want to just go through what a great set of games we have coming up.
There you go.
So here we go. So January the 20th. Let's do a quick. So Oldham against Ellesmere Port. Big game. One team's won all games. One team's lost one, won three. So a battle of the top five there. We talked about this last week. The big split in the league, and top five of the there's a big top five are going for the top four positions, and 6th to 10th are either fighting to avoid relegation or get into our championship finals. So that's the top five battle there. Oldham, Ellesmere Port. Again, Oaksway, Wire, DNA, Wire. Big games there for those teams, because again, the games these teams feel they should be winning. Yeah. Especially Wire. I think Wire will be thinking, 4 points there, 2 wins on the cards there for Wire. So it'd be interesting to see if they can get it. Another big game there, Leeds Athletic against Bury at 2:50. Rivington against Bury. So Bury have Leeds and Rivington in the same day. Get those energy drinks down, that'll help. Yeah. Chester have got Oldham's under 11s. That's going to be a tough game, and I think Oldham got their first win in last round, so they'll be hoping that they're not a team that they're there to be relegated. That's for sure. They're a team there to kind of solidify their championship finals, and they'll be thinking, we want to get to the championship finals and we want to win that. So I think Oldham will be fancying their chances there. The under 11s team. They also have Leeds Athletic, but yeah, the big games: Rivington, Bury, Leeds, Bury, and Oldham, Ellesmere Port. So sort of 3 huge games there on January the 20th. Then March the 9th, this is just jam-packed, full of just craziness. That's all I can say. So, again, this is like Wire Chester. It's going to be a huge game. DNA Oaksway, huge game. DNA Chester, huge game. Oaksway, Oldham under 11s, huge game. We will see
all the games that are going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Oldham. Then we have Oldham versus Bury, Leeds versus Ellesmere Port. Then Ellesmere Port against Bury. Then Rivington versus Leeds. Now, how's that for a fixture list there, Martin?
I'll be knackered on that day, mate. I know that's going to be some extreme, get shots.
Roll on March the 9th, mate. Roll on March the 9th, because that there is a proper fixture list. So from top to bottom, pure craziness. Then on the final day, based on what I've seen so far, I'm kind of predicting an Oldham Rivington showdown, but I also believe that we could potentially see another under 12 season where it could be decided by goal difference, the top of the table. I do believe there's a potential defeat for Oldham, apart from potentially but then this is how I'm going to put it. So I think Rivington have still got to play Leeds, who are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. They've still got to play Bury. They've still got, Bury and Leeds in particular, they've got to play. I think those two teams, by the time they play them, are going to be a lot stronger than they were if you would have played them now.
Yeah.
So I believe there may be a loss in there for Rivington, but I also believe Rivington have enough in their locker, especially by the time they get to April, to beat Oldham.
And it's funny. We know that they're watching these games. We know that other teams and players are watching, coaches are watching these games. They're now making use of this wonderful membership thing. So it's like people are trying to understand how each team's playing and what their weaknesses and strengths are. So,
Rivington have called upon the services of a well-known figure in the world of youth netball, who's going to be helping them.
The North, though.
Say again?
Does he still need his security guards?
No, that's more Turnford, isn't it?
Good point.
So, some really exciting league. It's a pity I didn't have the under 13s to show you, but we'll probably do that next week. But I think that rounds up really. This Saturday gone. It looks like
top. 2 in the middle. Wow, 4 in the middle, but 2 sixes. Mate, that league's looking well interesting.
It is indeed. It is indeed. But we're going to move on now to our overhead debate. And we're going to... Is Hayley in the room, Martin?
She is in the room. She's looking like she should be in a call centre. There she is. You need to turn your mic on, my dear.
Sorry, thank you.
Are you going to start doing Vogue as well?
No, nothing else can be heard. My 3-year-old's still awake, so.
Oh right, okay, that's fair enough. Unlike Richard, who just like literally blanks out his whole entire table.
Yeah, good fun that was. If I saw more Weetabix come towards me today, I was gonna scream. But Hayley, welcome to the review show. You're not a stranger to the ENG kind of media and stuff like that. You've been involved in our league for many years. Your team have been part of some of the most iconic interviews we've ever done, which when they get to England level and professional level, I can't wait to play them all back. It's gonna be good fun.
Yeah.
But you know, you're kind of in the league now without your kind of star-studded team, the team that the flag bearers, which have been the team that have kind of given you your notoriety over the years, the last few years anyway. But you now have an under-12s team who I believe are improving every single time they turn up. They pulled off one of the biggest shocks of the season so far, beating a team like Shan, who were tipped to kind of go on and potentially win this league, our under-12 Southern Conference this season. So whatever you're doing, you're doing a good job, because it doesn't matter what team you bring along. They seem to buy into what you're selling, and they perform superbly. And what we kind of want to know is how much of that is to do with passing, because I think Hayden, when he started this whole debate about overhead passing, it has never left. Like, I can go to the north, I can go to the south, and me and Martin are in a group chat with Hayden, and he's got to be one of the most. He is hard work, isn't he, Martin? But at the same time, he knows what he's talking about, and he does put a good case forward. He's very hard to dispute a lot of the things he says. But when I was in the north a few weeks ago, I had people come up to me and talking about the overhead stuff again. Colyn publicly, I think on his social media, went and told everyone, this overhead pass has got to stop. It's ridiculous. Who would teach this pass? And a lot of senior figures within the netball world, especially people I didn't believe would comment, they commented and said, yeah, I agree with you. But then I kind of thought to myself, well, hold on a minute. Half the people in your kind of establishment, or if not 75%, believe in that overhead pass. So it's very strange to hear someone who's quite high up in netball kind of say the overhead pass is ridiculous, but then 75% of the coaches below them are constantly doing it. And my position is, if it gets from A to B, does it really matter how you throw a ball? Like, you could spin round, throw it, and if it gets there, who really cares? But what's your position in terms of why do you admire, if in the background, if you can get up a Poole under-12s game this season, that would be cool. But is there a specific reason why you use it and teach it to your players?
We don't teach it across the board. I think there's a place for it, particularly in the younger age groups. And I think, I don't think that you can isolate it as a reason as to why, I don't know, teams from the Northwest are so successful, because actually that isn't just because of the two-handed overhead pass. But when you've got small children just starting out on their journey, it's better to coach one or two things right before you coach them 20 things. So actually the two-handed overhead pass gives them a little bit more power to put into it. They're using two hands, the ball's going to be pushed further. But obviously, as they go up through the stages, particularly at those higher levels, when you start hitting NPL, etc., it's really important to have a range of passes. So I think you probably see a lot of players in younger age group, particularly in the Northwest, use the two-handed overhead pass and they use it well. But actually, if you watch those players as they progress and they go up through the performance pathway, actually they're learning to use a range of passes. So I think there's a place for it. Yeah.
We had Hayley on last week from Sutton Town, and she said, well, she made the statement that basically it's not as strong. Like you lack mobility when you put the ball above your head. So if you look at people listening, you can see this is Hayley's pool side, but you lack movement once you put it above your head. The pass is not as accurate and it's more readable. What do you say to that?
Yeah, and
compared to a shoulder pass.
I mean, I would probably disagree at the younger age groups. I think, if you take, let's take Oldham. They're the most successful junior club in the country. And we know that they use that two-handed overhead pass. Hayden's obviously pointed it out on many a times. We know anyway. But they also their release point is high. So they're releasing the ball as soon as it's in their hands. So, and they're very, very well drilled at it. So they know they've got the speed, they've got the speed on their turns. So they know where the player's going to be. It's catch release. So I don't think that it's a weaker pass than the shoulder pass, because I just don't think that, certainly at this age at under 12s, my under 12s haven't, to get a good shoulder pass, your elbow needs to be in line with your shoulder. Well, my under 12s don't have the strength to do 50 shoulder passes with their arm at a right angle. Not yet.
So at what point do you believe, so because we've watched your famous Poole Diamonds now since the age of 12, the way they move the ball through the court I would personally say hasn't changed that much. They're just as effective at 12 as they are at 16. With they don't really, there's not a lot of, I wouldn't say loads of variations in their pass. They're very direct. They get the ball to where it needs to go to, and they score, thousands of goals doing it. Like when a kid gets a certain age, what do? You turn around and say to them, oh, by the way, you can't use that pass now. You've got to do a different one, or is it more, or is it more to do with them finding their way in the game in terms of you work it out. I don't need to keep telling you how to pass a ball.
No, I just think that, like I said earlier, if you've got a little group of 8-year-olds, actually, you just need them to nail the basics, and they're trying to learn footwork and they're trying to learn a pass. And if you give them several different passing techniques, that's quite difficult. Whereas if you give them one and get that right, but, as they hit, if we take the Diamonds, as they hit that age, the Diamonds need a range. They need to have a range of passes. They need to be able to start passing off the shoulder. They need a range of release points. So, as they get older and they work up through into performance levels, that two-handed overhead pass, there's still a place for it. But actually, if they're stood on the circle edge, they probably don't need to use that pass. They'll use, something on the front. It's about decision making, and it's about knowing which pass to use when, but that comes with experience. Good decision makers have got a lot of experience behind them.
Just watching that clip there of your under 12s doing a centre pass, there was 2 overhead passes, and then again the goal attack, goal attack, basically done a chest pass over to the goal shooter. So again, you want to teach the girls the basics, because, like you said, if you give them too much information, then it's going to affect their game. But them being court savvy and understanding when and where to do it is a massive part of their development. And do you go around discouraging certain passes, or do you just kind of say, right, just work it out? There's a time and place for things, but as long as the ball gets there, that's fine. Because Colyn's of the mindset of, well, you shouldn't be doing it full stop. But
No,
I don't.
I don't. I think that as time moves on, they naturally get more experience. They've had more exposure, they've played more fixtures, they've played different competition, and that exposure gives them experience, and with that they gain in confidence as well. So as they're growing in confidence, they're going to try new things, and we encourage, every coach will encourage players to have a go. It's like when the goalkeeper comes flying out the circle and takes that match-winning interception. That's because you've been encouraged to try new things, not because you were once told that you've got to stick on the shooter and never to come off. So it is about growing in confidence, and I don't think there's anything wrong with teaching the basics and just keeping it simple. But as I say, as they go up through the stages, there's definitely more decision making, more experience, more confidence to try new things, and that's when the range of passing, you start to see a more variation.
Well, what part of the court do you think the overhead pass is at most effective?
Straight through the middle, because I don't think that you can isolate the overhead pass, because I think that the overhead pass is that, like as we said, there's a place for that skill, but that you can't isolate it. You need to be you need to have the speed, your timing needs to be on, you need to be driving on to receive that, because it should be flat and fast. The overhead pass is not a slow loopy ball, it should just be flat and fast and straight line almost. So yeah,
like a bullet train. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. If you can get the ball straight line, straight through, brilliant. But with that comes timing to move on to the ball, holding your defender on your back to make sure that you create the space to drive into, and your turn. Your turn has to be perfect. And that's what the Northwest do particularly well.
Because a lot of people, I'm in a group with a lot of Northern Irish coaches, because I'm trying to promote my workshop and stuff. And I did send a video to them and said to them, look, have a look at that. And I said to them, I personally don't think Oldham could have done that move without an overhead pass. And they said, well, there's no one defending them. I said, but that's the point, isn't it? The point is that pass leans, that pass is effectively a counter-attack pass. Once you get the ball to shift it down the court, that's probably the best pass to play. So it's not easy for the defenders to get into position when the ball's being played that quickly down the court.
Because absolutely. But again, that isn't just the pass. They're so quick.
The movement, yeah.
They've probably worked through different sequences and different patterns of play and different structures from such a young age. And as I say, that and they've got so much exposure up there to netball. Thunder are taking them in at 10 years old. That's in addition to county, satellite. Their clubs are probably training 2 or 3 times a week with S&C. It's a way of life up there. So of course, they're drilling and they're doing their training sessions all the time. So they're not just working on the two-handed pass on its own. They're not stood there in twos in training, passing back and forth to each other. They're working on the whole move as one. So the ball becomes part of your body, It's here, gone.
Do you know when they fly through the court? Like, it's amazing to watch. Could that be executed as efficiently with a shoulder pass?
I don't think so. No, not at this level. Not at this. I think, when we talk about Super League, obviously they pass off of one hand far more at that level, but they are much stronger. Their bodies are conditioned for it. Yeah.
So you're saying at a young age, like, kind of while their bodies are developing, the easiest way to kind of, you teach them the overhead pass, because it's a strong pass, it's an effective pass, but then it gives you kind of room for maneuver to work on their movement, their positioning, and it Is that what you're saying in regards to kind of the younger age groups?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that it opens up. Yeah, as you said, it opens up that ability to drive on hard, take the ball. The ball is in two hands. It's safe. It's clinical. You know, if they're intercepting, it's clinical. If they're at full extension and attacking onto the ball, it looks lovely. They turn in the air and it's gone all in one movement. And it's rare that they hold on to the ball for longer than a second.
Can I ask a question here, Hayley, if you don't mind?
Mm.
If when they do the one hand pass, yeah, so if they've got the ball
Yeah.
in their hand, so forgive my ignorance, can you take the ball out of their hand?
No.
No, you can't. Right. I thought
You
so.
can't. It can't be 3 foot, mate.
Huh?
How long have you been watching netball,
I
mate?
know. I was just thinking to myself, hang on a second. If they're holding the ball, can you actually take the
No,
ball out
the
of their
ball's
Maybe
part of your body at that point, so that would be contact, wouldn't it?
maybe a new rule, Martin, eh? If it's
Oh,
not in
mate,
two
yeah.
hands, you can
Yeah.
snatch it off them.
Yeah, because you got the ball. It's just kind of like there. Can I just not take it? If you're just going to put it there, well, thank you very much. I'll have a dinner.
Oh, maybe you
What
should
would you-
umpire.
He might be better than some of my old ones, that's for sure.
Oh, now that's
Oh,
why
God.
would you open that up, mate?
Um,
That's kind of worms.
What do you think, Hayley? What do you think about people who say by teaching that pass predominantly at a younger age, you're affecting their progress?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, I mean, look, I think you learn from the best, and I know who I look up to in this sport, and I know that I'm a huge fan of what the Northwest do. There used to be a saying that Northwest is best. They used to plaster it all over social media, and it is really difficult to disagree because they're so far ahead. Um, I was thinking about it before I came on, and what makes me say that, and I see on social media they've got teams that sort of under six that are smashing teams in the under 10. Some of these clubs up there, um, they just get far. They get ahead. They get there earlier. Um, and I've seen that Pulse have this week introduced under 10s to their setup, and I think that's great because I think that it gets the girls invested.
Yeah.
And that's what we need more of. We need them invested at a young age. Anyway, I've digressed. I know what I want to be. I know that I want to play netball with speed, and I feel that at that age group that helps me to achieve my goal. And I know sort of who I look up to at grassroots level, and I need to try and compete with that. And I personally see that, that two-handed overhead pass gets me part way there.
Does
at a
it?
younger.
So let's go to Hayley's point. It affects mobility. You're very restricted when you get the ball above your head. Do you believe that to be true? Because if when I think of a one-handed shoulder pass, I would say I would like to think that I've got more control above my head. I don't think you've got more control and more power and more accuracy of it in one hand. So I don't necessarily agree with that point. But what do you think about the kind of stability and the ability to kind of change direction when it's above your head? Do you reckon you're restricted or not?
A lot of it depends on how you take the ball. If you're coming out of the turn and you've swung round with your ball in one hand, and as you're coming out of the turn, you offload it. I understand that point. And again, I think that happens a lot as you go up through the stages. I know that all the performance players are asked to practice religiously one-handed shoulder passes, and also that helps with their release points, particularly if you've got big arms in front of you, arms over the ball, etc. You need to be able to release from different points. But in terms of affecting mobility, I don't think that I would agree with that. Again, particularly not at those smaller age groups. They're just I just feel like they've got more control. I feel
Yeah.
like when it's like the one-handed shot. I was speaking to somebody recently who has got a fantastic reputation for producing great shooters, and I said to them, how do you teach shooting? Because for me, at 8 years old, if they're pushing it off of two hands, they get more height, more accuracy. If they push it off of one hand, above the head, which is where, actually they really, really struggle with that. But a shot is an accurate pass. So, that
Yeah.
goes back to the argument. Actually, for me, two hands means more strength, more power, and more control.
Yeah. Okay. So in the professional game, again, I don't really watch a lot of netball. I do watch the international stuff when it's on. From memory, most shooters will shoot with two hands, right?
Well, they shoot with one here above their head because that's the highest point, with your elbow to post, and your hand. This second hand just supports the ball, but it actually
Yeah.
all comes off of one.
You,
So
you
the
rarely
second
have.
hand is.
Because I do kind of. I agree with you again in a sense of when I see someone just holding it up with one hand and the other hand's not really doing nothing. I kind of think, especially when we're in big games, I'm thinking, can you not just please support the ball, because it looks like it's going to be less likely to go in. So the professionals would always have a support. They would always use one hand obviously to shoot and the other hand to support the ball, right? They wouldn't.
Yeah,
There you go.
but again, if you try and teach a little one to do that, naturally they want to use that second hand to push the ball with, so it becomes a two-handed shot. They cannot get the concept of supporting, not very easily supporting the ball. Or I say that's probably a bit too general, but yeah, I find, for me personally, the majority of my shooters really struggle to use that second hand as a supporting hand. So then you're faced with, do you let them shoot off two hands and try and work out of that as they get a bit older and a bit more stronger? Or do you practice off one hand and then bring the second hand in when they're confident, just to support the ball?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I thought of that.
So,
Yeah, take away the
so
hands, so they have it down by their side, and that's what they always just learn to shoot with their hand.
so if you see one-handed shooters, actually they could well be building up to just bringing that other hand to support the ball.
Well, I tell you what, one of the best shooters I think I've seen, I rant and rave about her. It's Mia Lashbrook from Magic. At the Eastern Finals, well, in the league this season and the Eastern Finals just gone, she has that loopy behind the head shot, hasn't she? One of those shots she makes it look easy, but it looks really difficult. She brings the ball right back behind her head when she goes to shoot. But yeah, an incredible skill, and the accuracy is just amazing anyway. But I've gone off point. In terms of like Hayley said that she loves playing teams who does overhead pass because they're more predictable to kind of work out where they're throwing it. Do you agree?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think you can't avoid the fact that both Oldham and Kingsway Power use it a lot. And they might be predictable, but they still win. So actually, if you get it right, then but again, that isn't just solely down to the pass. That's down to the movement and the game plan, the structure that they play with, and how well drilled they are. But they do always seem to have two options to the ball. So I don't know how predictable. I mean, yes, they like a straight line, but actually, if the straight line pass isn't on, generally they'll have a backup option. So it might be predictable, but it still works.
Well, I think people get the argument wrong. I think it's not whether the overhead pass is doing it. Does the overhead pass maximize the movement? Is it the best pass to play when you have a team who are moving? So, you've got the Kingsway Power girls or the Oldham girls, and they move so well. You need to be able to get the ball to them when they're traveling so quickly. And the best pass to play to these players is an overhead. I've got a few little examples I've sent to Martin, and kind of going against the overhead pass, because there was some good stuff played with chest passes and that. But again, I think people get the argument wrong. It's not whether the overhead pass is doing it. but does the overhead pass lean towards good movement, maximising the movement on the court?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
allows like that fluid play,
Yeah.
straight down. There's no, there's no moving. It's not slow. It's very, very quick. It's
Yeah.
very powerful. And the overhead pass, absolutely, it allows for that drive, that long drive straight through the court. They're very rarely high to the ball. They're always in depth, moving straight to goal.
It's like a relay race, isn't it? When you're bombing round the track, you want to offload the baton as the most efficiently as possible. And I think the overhead pass is like the baton. You're efficiently passing the baton over.
Get rid of it.
Yeah, that's what I think. But I think that is definitely the argument there. But Martin, if you can play my examples, and we'll get Hayley to give us some feedback on what we saw on Saturday. Some of the stuff I don't think could have been executed without an overhead pass, but there's some cool examples of just basically teams moving the ball through the court without an overhead pass. So just kind of giving two sides of the coin when it comes to, we're not saying the overhead pass is the be all end all. What we're saying is it's probably the most effective when you have good movement on the court and you want to maximize that good movement. But there is some great examples of just chest passes, and
I think you're right though. I think that ultimately it's about getting it from A to B, and actually there are more ways than just the overhead pass, and I think that's what we're saying. I think that when the timing is right for you to put the speed and the move, and you can get the defenders on your back and you can get to where you need to be and you can play off the first second, then absolutely there's a place for the overhead pass. But sometimes that's not possible, and then it's the ability to decision make and adapt, and that might lead to something else.
So Martin, play these first example. I forgot what the examples were, but once I see them, I'll know.
Okay, all right, I'll play the first one. There you go.
So for me, I picked that one because it was a variation in the passes. So you had a chest pass, then you had a lovely shoulder pass, and then you had an overhead pass to get you into the circle. But
were they 13, 14?
No, so the girl who played the shoulder pass then, and we've got another example of that, of her playing the shoulder pass. She's only 10.
Wow.
So there are players out there who can play really good, strong, effective passes, but we're not saying you can't. What we're saying is the majority of girls at that age can't. So there's no point until they've developed properly in teaching something their body can't really do.
Can we see it again though? Is that possible?
Yeah, go on.
Right, here we go.
Okay.
So that was Grangetown against Oldham. So what do you think of that passage you played? That's quite cool, wasn't it? But the overhead pass was the killer pass. But a lot of people say in the final third, you shouldn't be playing overhead passes.
Yeah, but that overhead pass, that shooter was very tall, wasn't she? So it wasn't your typical overhead flat and fast ball that you'd see straight through the court to get to goal. That was more of, you'd normally see that probably circle edge, because your shooter's holding for the back space. You need to put an accurate ball that's going to make the back space and keep the defender off of it. So it wasn't your typical overhead ball, that last one in.
But in that situation
where running onto that ball, that was a different pass.
So in that situation where they've fed the shooter with an overhead pass, would you say that in that situation, that's probably not the best pass to play in that situation to the shooter? Would you prefer a different type of pass?
No, I would have preferred. I think, generally with those types of passes, particularly if the defender's tall, you'd encourage them to get to circle edge. But I don't have a problem with the overhead pass. I think you made the point, it needs to get from A to B. And it did that accurately, and the defence didn't get a hand to it. But that overhead pass into the circle was a different overhead pass to the ones that you see through the court. I don't know that you would have put well, you might have lifted it from the chest, but I don't think that you would have put a one-handed pass in at that point.
Well, it was a good passage of play, but I've got an Oldham move now. I think the overhead pass again, like with Poole, when the ball breaks down and you want to go from gear 1 to gear 5, the overhead pass is the pass to play. For me, it's the only pass to play. And like you said with Oldham, watch how the player catches the ball up here. She catches it here, spins in midair, and already knows that her teammate is on the run without even looking, and just then overhead pass it back to her. So it's quite a cool thing. But I don't think this passage of play happens unless you do an overhead pass. And I want to know if you agree or not, Hayley. So Martin, I think it is example 2.
It's going to be special. Come on.
You weren't happy with the first one.
Well, it's just the way.
Sorry, what was that?
No, go on.
Okay.
You want to watch it again, Hayley?
No, I just think that is quick. That was quicker than the first one we saw. Everyone was free, ball side. Like the shooter was holding ball side. So her defence was on her back. The player had to literally turn, release straight in front. There was no defensive pressure in that situation. I'm not saying the defence weren't trying to put pressure on. I'm just saying that the shooter got in the position, saw the ball, which side of the court the ball was moving, stood there, beautiful.
So I don't personally believe. So again, it's going back to that point. The overhead lent to the great movement. Ball travel.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think that overhead pass is flat, fast. Everyone's ball side. I don't think it's just the overhead pass that makes that. I think that the overhead pass
celebrates the movement.
Yeah. I think the movement is key, and I think that is something that they are fantastic at, their speed and their execution. But it's not just the pass; it's actually the release as well. If you look, wherever they catch it from, the ball's pretty much released from the same point. If you look at a lot of small teams that do the overhead pass, they catch it here, bring it down, take a look, bring it up, release it. But with Oldham, generally, they've just caught it, like you said, made their turn, reacted, made their decision, off they go, release, give and go. The whole thing is one.
How hard is it to catch Martin, if you play that clip one more time, and I want to play, and anyone watching at home, pay close attention to the young lady who catches it out on the baseline, manages to spin, but her teammate her teammate is clever. She makes the run at the right moment. Yeah, she does it. It's not too early. It's not too late. It's literally exactly at the right point what her teammate's doing is analysing the movement of the pass. So her movement is based on the speed of the pass.
Yeah, but would it be something they practice in training? This sort of movement.
Of course, it is. Yeah,
they will have worked so hard. They work so hard to get this right. Having coached all age groups, I know how difficult it is, especially with the younger age groups. Just whatever you're doing training, a week later it's out the window and they've forgotten. So I know how hard this is to achieve.
So Martin, play that clip again, and I want Hayley to just let us know briefly afterwards how hard it is to kind of execute that kind of catching it in midair to then spin and pass. It's quite. I've watched it about 1 million times. I think it's absolutely amazing. So if you can play it, Martin, go on.
It's quick, isn't it?
Really quick, super quick. And you know, like I say, when you're working with younger age groups, it's really difficult to nail the basics. It takes a lot of work. They don't retain the information. Actually working with the under 12s at the moment, I've found the last few months a lot easier because they're just getting that bit older now, so they take on board what you're trying to teach them. When I have the whole, and I don't take this age group very often because I'm not very good with this age group, but when we have our
Why not?
year 2s and 3s, I just don't have any patience.
I knew you were going to say that.
But when we have our sort of year 2s and 3s, you know, we can be doing something for weeks, and every training session you sort of have to be creative and try and teach the same thing in a different way, until it becomes routine. So the fact that they're timing, you know, it's time to perfection, they're how explosive they are. They go from a static position and then just come. It's dynamic, but it's super fast, and it's really difficult to fault. You know, the timing of the speed of the turn, the speed of the run, and the timing, together with the two-handed overhead pass. Well, it's just really lovely to watch.
Would you say then the Northern spend more time training than the Southern teams?
Yeah.
I heard this a few times. They spend a lot more time.
Yeah, sorry. I wouldn't just say that's through club. There probably is an element of some of the bigger clubs train more than most. But what you've got to appreciate is they've got different academies up there, which, you know, if you take Elite, for example, you know, that's an academy, and we are growing in academies down here. But they've also, you know, Manchester Thunder is big. It's a huge franchise up there. There's not much else that they're competing with. I don't know, maybe Leeds, but obviously Thunder have been established for a lot longer. And they've really built it right from those young age groups. So a lot of if you take Bath, for example, you know, they don't start until under 15 school games. Well, Thunder are inviting you to do things at 10 years old, and then on top of that you've got county academy, satellite. So they really, you know, those juniors are really invested, and that in itself will always support the clubs, and the clubs are supporting the franchise, and that's why they're, you know, the pathway up there is so incredible.
Dedicated? Okay,
Dedicated. They're focused, they're invested. It's really good.
Can I bring Colyn in, by the way?
Oh, it's Colyn, is he? Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Are you right for this, Hayley? You know what Colyn's like.
Hey.
Hello, Colyn.
Hi.
Colyn.
Hi.
Colyn, we've got about 15 minutes we don't worry, we can always continue this, but basically we're just talking about the overhead pass. Is there a place for it in netball? Does it really matter how you throw the ball to get from A to B? Does the overhead pass taught at a young age restrict?
Well, it has its place.
Progression.
It has its place, but it's becoming a bit of a bugbear right now for me, because the kids that I coach, a lot of them are, well, of course, they're in schools, and teachers are teaching them this overhead pass and it's just taking forever to get from destination Poole to Bath. And it's something that is really boiling my system to a very high Fahrenheit. So you don't want to do that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So, Colyn, so when you're coaching, do you do you categorically do not encourage that type of pass?
Oh God, yes. Well, I encourage a pass there's a pass for every situation, and it's I encourage people to step around players and move the ball, or move the defender and get the ball moving. This thing where they hold the ball above their head, it can be stopped. Good defending will stop that. Yep. And we don't see Australia doing that, do they? We don't see Australia doing that. Australia's the
So,
favorite is that sling, that one-handed sling, low, hard, and fast, and that's what I like. That's
But
my brand.
do you
Well,
think that's because of the age and the condition of their bodies? Because an 8-year-old
No,
isn't going to be able to sling a ball like an Australian international.
no, but it's the way we coach them. It's the way we coach them, and I think it's coaches doing that. And we're saying that um, their bodies are not strong enough, so they have to generate power. No, if we coach them and let them do repetitive drills and stuff, and also build confidence in players, we do it. We can get it done. I think sometimes coaches in England we take the lazy way approach, the lazy approach out, and I think this is one of the lazy approach ways. It's almost like if you look on say 50 teams, how many of those 50 teams have holding shooters? Maybe 40 of them will have holding shooters, or 45 of them will have holding shooters, and 5 will have moving shooters. Because some coaches can't coach moving shooters. They only know stick a tall girl in, chuck it in the air, and voila. And that's netball. And this is where I think um, England has made huge strides in netball. But I think also some of coaches need to do some more work in terms of watching netball in other countries, watching netball systems in other countries, and learning from it. Want to learn because although I've been in the game 400 years before Christ, I'm still learning, and I want to learn. You know what I mean?
but
Yeah,
Colin,
I never
yeah.
yeah,
close
Colin,
my door of learning.
No,
Colin,
that's
we're not saying. I personally believe the overhead pass leans like if your team have good movement. The best
Hmm.
way to kind of maximize that movement is to get the ball over your head and sling it down the court. Because for me, that's a more powerful, more direct pass. I can't see how a shoulder pass or a chest pass can be as effective. And if you look at all the youth teams in our competitions, predominantly the winning teams are using overhead passes. So why are they having so much success with an overhead pass if it's
Because Richard,
detrimental?
because we are creating robots. We are creating robots in this country. We
do you agree with that?
and that's not, and it's not good. And I tell you why. We must be able to make players learn to make decisions on their own. And my sessions are decision led. Players I focus more on players making decisions with ball in hand. So if a defender is in front of my player, an attacking player, they're going to make the decision what type of pass to do. And how is that person defending me? What am I going to do to get rid of this defender, to get the ball away? And I allow players to do that. Whereas a lot of coaches instruct their players to say, this is what we're doing, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. And we create robots. Sometimes robotic things can look good, but then robots can be broken.
Hayley, do you agree with
Yes.
that? That you're maybe instructing them to be like robots then?
no.
No,
You know, I don't I don't disagree with what Colin's saying. I think that, that netball should be about decision making. And I think, as I've said earlier, performance netball, when you start hitting those higher levels, you've got to be able to make a good decision, under pressure. And if you're not trained for that, then actually you're not going to, you're not going to make it any further, because that's what netball is about. It's about training good decision makers and challenging our athletes as well. And as I said earlier, it's about letting them, build their own confidence. So, but I don't think that by training a two-handed overhead pass, we're training robots. I just think that we're finding something that maybe works for that athlete or that group of athletes that we can build on. So
See, yeah,
at 8 years old, that might work, and actually we might be achieving success, but that's not going to work forever. And Colin's right. As we go up through the stages, and we're talking about Australia, etc., they need to be able to have a range of passes, and that will develop.
See, that's what I see in your under-15s from last year. No more than a game. No more need to be said. Drop mic, amazing game. But you can see the different range of play in all the team. So, yeah, I disagree with that. Sort of, he's back. He's just timed out.
I think when I go back to the football analogy. The most used pass in football, the most safest way to pass the ball is with your side foot. Now, 90% of all passes in football is done with a side foot, because it gets to A to B in its safest way. Like, I think for kids who are, I would say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, especially young girls who haven't got as much strength as boys would have, the overhead pass for me is the most efficient way to pass the ball because of your stability and the strength you can put behind the pass. Like, not many girls can throw the ball effectively with a shoulder pass, or a chest pass is probably a little bit easier. But go on, Colin.
Well. You know what? I beg to differ on that because let's just say, look at our under 13 team. Just playing is it the one that went for the other day? With the one team with Poppy on. A player called Poppy. Poppy is one of a player at a young age. She's got exceptional ball handling skills. And you never see Poppy raise the ball over her head to do an overhead pass. She doesn't have any problem getting the ball around her defender and getting that ball from point A to B. Her hands are, I always say, if in terms of fashion terms, her hands is like Hermes. It's like a Hermes scarf. It's just smooth. You know what I mean? I love that about this kid. Yeah, look at when she's got the ball, it's just velvet smooth with it. And she doesn't put the ball above her head.
But how many poppies
you
are
get
there?
me?
Yeah.
Well, we have lots of them because, like, we played a match on Sunday and against a very good Tiffin team, and we were just again, you know, I was just in my element watching them move the ball at pace, and nobody lifted that ball. And if they lifted, I would give them the side eye. You know, and they just went with it with ruthlessness, you know, and at the same time, the speed, the power, the precision, and they had no problem against a very big Tiffin team as well. So it's how we coach these people, isn't it?
Hey, Martin, play that clip of Oldham, and I want Colin to tell us if he thinks that could have been executed with a shoulder or a chest pass or whatever other pass other than an overhead pass.
1 or 2? Which one was it?
2.
2.
All right, everybody seems to know except me. All right.
I thought I was helping.
On the court pretty quickly, but then we also have to look at the opposition. What are they doing defensively? Are they doing the job properly? Are they riding individual players properly? Are they stopping their movements? No, they're not. The team that they're playing are not as good as the other, you know. The opposition is not very strong.
But do you think the speed of that pass can be replicated in a shoulder pass or a chest pass? I personally don't believe it can.
No, you see, Richard, again, I've been in the game 400 years before Christ. And this overhead thing I've never used.
Oh,
is he gone?
Timing out. I think he's gone.
How come Colin always is somewhere?
Hello? I'm still here. Yes, okay. I don't use it because I don't need to use it. So, I can get a ball. I don't care if there's a 10-footer in front of me. I can get the ball around them with ease.
So
and that's how I coach my players to do that.
If your team, Colin,
all the players, right? And the girls are moving the ball with precision down the court, and nobody's lifting the ball above their heads. because they're taught not to.
Oh, he's gone. Hayley, how do you take something like that when somebody says, like, you know, his whole team won't use it, you do, and you know you're a successful, great coach. You know, do you take that personally?
No, I don't think you can take anything in netball personally. I just think you just take it, you know, everybody's got an opinion and that's because they're passionate about what we do. Colyn's back.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm back.
Colyn,
Back.
if your team would have executed a goal like that, would you have been annoyed because they used an overhead pass, or?
Listen, if the opposition allows it, I'm not going to be mad about it. You know, because you know what I mean. But when we come across good opposition, because if I'm going to play against or coach against an Oldham style of play, I know what I'm going to tell the girls to do
Or
to
a
slow them down.
Hayley's
Or-
here. Hayley's team, or Hayley teaches.
Yeah,
this overhead pass.
Colin doesn't. We don't have a team in Colin's age group, I don't think.
Right.
But we played last year, did we?
With the under 11s, wasn't? I think you were with Stars. I think you were caretaking.
Yes. I was with Stars on the day. Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, don't get your under 12s beat Shan.
Okay, let's go, guys.
When was
Don't
this?
forget that one.
Colin wasn't there that day, were you, Colin?
I was not. No, I was not. No.
I can look it up.
So, Colyn, a couple of questions. Do you believe teaching an overhead pass, predominantly an overhead pass, affects the progress of the player?
It's for the type of netball that the brand that I use. It's for me. It's too cumbersome. It's slow. It holds down. It's too slow. And I don't endorse that. No, I don't. I teach players to make decisions with ball in hand. What's best and what's quick.
Yeah, but isn't it good?
You're taught to catch, to release where you get it, where you at the release point where you get it,
But would you
not to bring it up there to go again. It's too much. It's too much.
If you receive it,
It takes too long.
if you receive it up there, are you happy for them to release it from up there?
Yes, I am. But you know, we keep talking about maybe the height or the age. Let's look at let me see now. Laura Van Berta, a woman called Laura Van Berta. She used to play for Australia, and she was one of the shortest international players ever. She's about like 5 foot, I think, in height. And that girl played against some monsters. And did you see her lift the ball around? No, she would whip that ball around them so fast the head would spin.
Yeah, we spoke about this.
You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah. About having different release points as they go up through the levels. They, you know, one type of par wouldn't be sufficient.
I think for me, Hayley, what we're doing here, we're creating a little bit of this robotic type of thing. And yes, robots are good, but also robots can be defeated. And yeah, we need to start making players learn with ball in hand and think on their, better, instead of putting this thing into this is what you do. We're not creating machines here.
I don't know if anyone actually does do that, though. I think that there's an element of.
But that's what it's creating, I think.
Okay.
That's what it's creating.
I haven't seen that, but I feel like coaches may have a preference as to how they nurture a style of play or a particular athlete. But I don't know that I've seen robots. I just think I've seen some pretty good court play, some good sequences, some good patterns that have obviously been worked on. But I still don't think that takes away decision making, because actually,
but also,
where she's supposed to be, a decision has to be made.
But also, when they come across good defending teams, because a lot of coaches, we have a lot of in this country. We have excellent attacking coaches. a lot of really good, and I've seen a lot of them. Haley, I love like your team. Your team is a beautiful attacking team.
Oh, thank
I
you.
love to watch them, and I did tell you that when I saw you the first time we met. Yeah, we did. I did say that,
Yeah, you did. Thank
but
you. Yeah.
also, but but also when we come across the teams that are defensively minded, this is where the problem comes. And defense is a thing that I teach a lot of.
Hmm.
I wasn't a defender, but I love defending. I love to see teams defend. You must
Yeah.
ride that player. They're going to the bathroom, we're going with you. Literally. And that's how I teach my players. We must ride them. I must be careful how I use that word because I could get in trouble for that. You know what umpires are like. Yeah.
I
But
gotta admit, you do say that when
huh?
you're court side, and I do go to okay. Maybe I should edit that bit out. Yeah.
Well,
But
Colin,
Yeah, I just
Tom,
Colin, wouldn't you say
huh?
though? You're saying that you won't teach that overhead throw, but you're actually stopping
Mm.
a player from actually having a tactic that they can use. And if you want them to learn, if you want them to be able to be, more constructive in their gameplay, and they have something in the locker that they could use that to utilize. Would you not say you're not teaching
No,
them
no,
that
no. I
over?
don't say I won't teach. I don't say I won't teach it, but I won't sort of make it become the staple. I will, I will make sure that they have all the options available, but I'm not going to say this is it. You know, we're known for the overhead, the overhead, the
So you,
overhead.
so
No,
you do teach the overhead pass, but it's not critical in your gameplay. It's something you don't like to see, but
no,
you
no.
do. So you do teach them that.
Because my style of play is about moving the ball quickly, um, stepping around, moving the ball at pace, and it requires different type of passing.
Yeah. So
I'm from a,
what pass is
I'm
quicker than
from
the
a
overhead
Caribbean.
pass?
Hmm?
What
What pass
pass
is
at
quicker than the other pass?
under 12s level?
Well, you see, this is where we're different coaching, Richard, because I don't see a person who is 12 different from a person who is 80. I don't work that way.
but
You
Haley's
see,
already proved that under 12
it's
you
a
can play.
difference in my netball culture. My netball culture, where I came from, I learned the game in Jamaica, and so we had a different total culture completely to the culture here in England. And there's overhead stuff in the Caribbean. We don't see it in the Caribbean.
Haley, what have you got to
So
say
my
about that?
culture is different.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
netball culture is different.
But Haley, so you,
Mm.
That's where it was how I was bred. You know, we don't.
well,
I haven't got much to say on his netball culture because I don't know about his
no,
netball
but
culture.
what I mean by
But it,
Colin's saying that under 12s are the same as under 18s. There's no difference, basically.
well, yeah, I would probably have to disagree there, Colin. I think, certainly, when I don't start with them at under 12. So when you first get a team and they're very, very young, it's very difficult to do anything with them. That you're just making it fun and enjoyable,
Mhm.
and you're trying to, you want them invested, and then you start with the basics, and I think it's really important, definitely for my teams, to nail the basics, and I think that's what can sometimes give us the edge. And then for me, after we've got to that stage, and as they progress, then we're looking at adding in to that and growing, and and their confidence as they've played netball a few times on the court, they understand that they're out there on their own making decisions, and that's what we do in training. We do train decision making because obviously, I mean, you know what it's like. We can talk about ENG. No one can hear anything I've got to say. I'm sat there. I mean, they probably hear Colin more than me, but you're sat on the coaching bench. I'm shouting and hollering, and they all go, "Oh, we didn't hear you." Because actually there's so much noise, which shows that actually they have to be good decision makers because they're not going to do what I tell them. Because, you know, but that's where training is so important because we have to have trained it. You know, we have to train them and develop their decision making so that when they do it on the court, they do it as a team of 7 and they do it for each other and for themselves based on what they've learned in training. If it doesn't work, you go back into training and you work harder, you know. If it does work, great, you just progress that. So I don't disagree with Colin. It's all about decision making, but there's probably more in my
But you see, hey,
style,
let's look at
more room for the overhead pass with Colin.
why England haven't beaten.
Sorry, Colin, can you say that again? We've got a lot of pickup from the people behind you, so can you just repeat that? Or is he gone?
That's why England haven't beaten.
Well, let's England, a young England team haven't beaten Jamaica in a long time in the under 21s because so we have to look at why England, a young England have beaten a young Jamaican side in a long time in the under 21 or and under, because in the Caribbean we don't do that, so we don't focus on them overhead style of passing. Okay, let's look at a player called Khadija Williams. Now, Khadija is a short wing attack that has played for the national team for a long time, and look what New Zealand did in the World Cup. They put a woman who is 6'4" as a wing defense to mark her to combat what she was doing. Did she get the ball off her? No. And Khadija did not lift the ball over her head at once, not once. And the evidence is all there.
I think, to be fair, when we're talking about international, England wouldn't be teaching them to do the overhead pass. England would equally want them to have a range of passing, a range of release.
Absolutely.
You know, so I don't think that it's because of the overhead pass that.
No, but it's the coaches that we have are feeding into that system, which creates this where we have problems. They're feeding into a system, and I think this is where England needs to communicate this better. We should teach people to make decisions with ball in hand instead of.
He's gone again.
Did you miss some of what I just said?
Yeah, we did, just a little bit.
Hello?
So, Colin, can you hear us?
Oops.
So, Colin, are you saying that
Hello?
because a lot of coaches are teaching this overhead pass a lot, by the time they get to an international level, their range of passing isn't that great?
Yes.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is that we're when they get to the England stage, England have to do a lot of work in teaching them, getting them to make do it from the.
All right. So you cut out there for a second.
Yeah, when they get to the England stage, it's a lot of work for the England coaches to change the what they were doing 4 or 5 years before, to get them to learn to make better decisions with ball in hand and stuff. So
Martin, can you go on YouTube and put in Australian youth netball to see how the young 12-year-olds in Australia throw the ball?
Could do. You really want me to do that?
We're going to wrap this up in 5 minutes, but I'd love Colin to come back on potentially next week to go over this when there's not as much going on in the background. But I think the argument is, Colin, the argument to me is this: at a young age, why focus so much on passing when you could be focusing on bigger things like movement? I think movement is a bigger part, is the biggest part of the game. And why overload players with too much information when you can just give them 1 or 2 things to think about and then focus on bigger things, if that makes sense, if you can hear me as well. That was a Did you hear what I said, Colin?
I think he's walked out and he's going to try and get a better communication with no noise in the background. Can you hear us,
Yeah,
Colin? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
So, Colin, what I'm saying is, I think what Hayley was saying was, and I agree with to a certain extent as well, is why overload players at a certain age with ranges of passing when you could be focusing on, I think, movement is the key thing for players, like being creative.
I do that. I certainly do that. I do that. I focus on movement.
Yeah, but a lot of kids.
Movement is a key thing in my game. You have to move.
But there's a lot of players that need a lot of work when it comes to how they move off the ball, being creative, and how to create space. Why overload them with 3 or 4 or 5 different passes when you can focus on one and then focus on something that's bigger and more effective to work on? Because surely when they get to 14, they should be able just to pass the ball in many different ways anyway. But what's more important, the pass or the movement?
Well, listen. Well, for me, I coach, and I don't matter if I'm coaching a 10-year-old. It's about giving the player confidence to do certain stuff. And I always, that's the type of coach I am. I always try and instill confidence so that the players can do and make decisions themselves. And so that's what I've always, that's the way I was taught. The woman who taught me, Margaret Beckford, who's 96 years old now, that's the way she taught me how to make decisions with ball in hand, how to make decisions. And I learned that from a very, very, very early age. And some always stayed with me, and that's what I pass on now. That's the way I was taught.
Well, you taught that, Hayley.
And I didn't come.
So so what in regards to, so how would you sum up coaches who predominantly focus on overhead passes? What is the issue here? So sum up in a couple of sentences why you think that's detrimental.
Sorry, I didn't get the last bit.
I'm saying if you can sum up in a couple of...
If they come across good defending teams with good structures, teams that are disciplined with the ball or with hands over ball, teams that are not going to attract the umpire's attention, that can be stopped and it can cause problems. It can cause problems.
And Hayley, the same to you in a couple of sentences.
If you slow it down from point A to point B.
I think it just goes back to what I said. You can't isolate it to the pass. And I think the pass assists the whole move. And actually, I think that, with the training that goes into these teams who are moving the ball effectively at speed down court, actually, I don't think that's robotic. I think they're very well drilled. But I just think that they are experiencing more through training, more through their environment. They've probably got access to more netball. And I think that access to and exposure to the netball that they're getting is giving them confidence and helping them build on their decision-making skills. So I think there is a place for the overhead ball to assist with their movement, as we've said tonight. But I don't think that should take away from decision-making, and I don't think any coach would say that it does.
Well, we're going to wrap this up here because it's 9:30. It's nearly my bedtime. But Colin, we want to continue this conversation. So hopefully next week there's less noise behind you.
Yes, we
can get you back on.
Yep.
But Hayley, thank you so much for coming on.
Very happy to come back next week.
But Martin, thank you as well, mate. And we'll continue this debate one last time next week and see if we can get some clarity and we can come up with a conclusion. Maybe Hayden might want to come on. You never know. But if you joined us tonight, thank you for watching. I'm going to put a few clips up to kind of stoke the fire to see how people react. We did get a good reaction last week, and a lot of people come up to me and said, I really enjoyed watching that. So hopefully they enjoyed watching it again. Hayley has a different perspective of how to play the game.
What about
Colin
getting
has different.
somebody from the northwest to come on next week against Colin?
Well, I did ask Tom from Oldham.
Well, Tom Knight
but
was saying, you talk. So the comments Tom put on here, fancy a game, Colin. It's just like,
I'll
ding,
come.
ding.
Well, let's see if we get.
I'll live stream it.
We could have a sweepstake.
I'll have a little think. I'll have a little think and see if I can get on from the northwest to kind of see what they have to say. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I look forward to see. I'll see you on the. Oh, Hayley, before you go, what did you think of your draw for the under-16s nationals?
I always get a rubbish draw with you. Nothing surprises me. If I'm in a knockout cup, I've only ever had one home game, and that was against Turnford. And every time I'm in any sort of draw, I always get the group of death, bar once actually. So I just expected it. I don't even know that this is done fairly, because it's every single time. I think you just go, oh, it's Poole. Let's see what we can do about this.
How very
What's not fair about that?
I'm joking. It's just our luck. That's all.
Martin, you might have to get a little get a camera to show everyone that I'm not cheating.
I was joking. I'm sure
we had this chat before. Remember this, Richard? When we first started doing it, I said we might have to put a camera on, mate, because people might not think that you're doing your hand properly. Or
but Martin, when people are sending you money directly into your account as you're doing it, it's very hard not
if I'd have
to.
known that was an option.
Right. You do know
you
runs a private company, right?
On our Netball bank account.
But Hayley, there's you haven't got the big northern powerhouses at that competition.
No, I'm disappointed actually in that, because I think there would have been, I would have really liked to have come up against Bury, only because we don't get that opportunity, and it would have been good. But nevertheless, there is still some really good competition, really good clubs in there.
10, 12-minute games. Anything can happen. But I think, obviously you are the favourites. You are the team that everyone believes will win.
I heard the North weren't going to play because they were scared Poole were in it. So
yeah.
I bet Katie Myers is agreeing with that. Not.
But yeah, they're probably cancelling all their league subscriptions. I think now as we speak, Mine. Thanks for that, mate. But I'll see you on the 10th. Potentially a great finale to what has been an incredible 4 years for your under-16s. And we look forward to seeing you soon. But thank you for coming on, Martin. Thank you as ever. Cup of tea time, mate.
Don't forget, everybody, you can subscribe, and don't forget to comment, because I'm sure Hayley will love some support as well. Right, there we go. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Thank you.